From the shores of Puget Sound, this is GreenerViews, a unique media resource for information, education, consultation, and fun. GreenerViews is a part of the Healthy Homecast network and is brought to you exclusively by healthypainting.com and ambrosiadigitalmedia.com. Each episode will introduce and connect you with services, products, practices, organizations, and groups that focus on the health, happiness, safety, well-being, charity, and community of all. Find us on the web at www.greenerviews.net. And now, your host, Daryl Whalen.
Okay, welcome to episode 45 of GreenerViews. I'm Daryl Whalen, along with, was it Christian and John? Is it Johnny or John? Yeah. And what was the last name? Anderson. Filling in for Michael, who's doing a big photo shoot down in California. And Randy Parcel, our awesome, trusty audio engineer, back after his trip down to California as well. And we're joining us this evening is Michael. Is it Mike or Michael?
Mike's good.
Mike Noonan from Clear Lighting Solutions, formerly known as Light Dreams. And GreenerViews is part of the Healthy Homecast network. It is brought to you exclusively by healthypainting.com and ambrosiadigitalmedia.com. If you would like to advertise or donate or be a sponsor, be a guest, please contact info@greenerviews.net or call 206-650-4587. So we always start out by talking about how I know the guest, and I know Mike the exact same way that I know Shannon. And Shannon, was she the last episode she was on the last episode from Iron Moxie when we did that community project over there at the...
You met me scraping paint.
I had him scraping paint, yeah. Had him doing the hard work.
My favorite thing.
And we got to talk a little bit about it before the show, and he happened to do some spray painting and lacquer inhalation from an extremely awful painting contractor from his youth. But we met over there, and we got to chit-chatting about his business, and that's something that happens to be something that I really think is really cool. So welcome, and thanks for joining us today. So let's start out with a brief elevator pitch. What is, I was going to call it the old name, Clear Lighting Solutions.
So what it is a company that provides LED lighting solutions to replace fluorescent lights and all kinds of other lighting that has chemicals and all other kind of bad stuff in them. And the idea is pretty much anything that somebody makes a fluorescent light, we have an LED replacement for it. It reduces energy costs and is, again, no chemicals, usually 100% recyclable, much better on the environment.
Great. So let's start with the company first, Clear Lighting Solutions. What's the background? How did it get started? Who started it? When?
A gentleman named Brad Midling started it probably about 6 years ago. He started it with the intention of his brother-in-law works for a big electrician in the electrical company in the area. And they're just looking for a more efficient, better lighting solution that, again, would be more green and environmentally friendly. And so they went through a long process of trying to come up with the right light. Their first light was a T8 replacement, and it took quite a few years to get it to pass all the testing and qualify for, PSE rebates and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, we'll have to get into a little bit about what that means, because it's just like talking about the Astro 2000 juicer that we were talking about before
8006.
The 8006. I don't know what the T8 or T6 or whatever the rebates, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
And how about yourself? How did you get involved with this?
By chance, 15 years in the printing industry, and I met him one night and we were talking about it, and I have another friend who's getting into the LED lighting solutions down in Portland, and it sounded like something that was more of a positive thing to do for myself and for the environment.
Great. So what are your I imagine that there's been, in 15 years in the printing business, I imagine that there's been a lot of changes and stuff in the printing industry. Is that not necessarily true as far as the machinery and the technology, and has that generally gotten a little bit more sustainable or a little bit more?
A little bit. They certainly talk about it a lot, but I mean,
not as much.
Copiers and printers still end up in junkyards.
Yeah. Unless you take it down to a place like RePC or something.
Right.
Yeah. So what about yourself? What are your roles and responsibilities within the company?
So my roles and responsibility are more on the sales side and the consulting side, and going out and finding people who are interested in upgrading their lighting, consulting with them on what they might be able to do, what lighting might work for them, and trying to figure out the best solution, both financially and lighting-wise.
Great. So who's the target clientele? I mean, most people that come on obviously say anybody, but...
Anybody.
So who are generally the people that, well, let's say you do sales, and you go out and meet with people, and you obviously do presentations and talk about it. Who are the people that you're generally focusing the majority of your energy towards?
Well, these days it seems like a lot of businesses, a lot of warehouse, a lot of parking lots, companies that have big parking structures that have lights on 24/7. Those are easy targets. Hospitals, grocery stores, convenience stores open 24 hours again. It's a constant burning of electricity and energy.
Those big pole lights that have those like
lights.
4 million watt bulbs and stuff.
Exactly. But, school districts, small businesses as well. Government agencies, you name it. I mean, literally, if you have a light and you're either A, concerned about saving money or being better on the environment, I mean, those are anyone that has those two priorities would be a good fit.
Yeah. So what percentage would you say of your business is residential?
Currently very low.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's tough. It is, that upfront cost for a light bulb that maybe is $25 to $30 for your lamp versus a 4-pack for $2.99.
Yeah.
It's tough to get people to stop going to Home Depot to get those lights.
4-pack for $1, I mean.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But then those lights immediately, to me, it's like they end up in the garbage in, how many months?
So let's talk about the energy difference between that standard, $1 light bulb and one of the light bulbs that you're talking about that they're now replacing with the LED.
Sure. So your nightstand lamp might have a 40 or a 60 watt light bulb in it. An equivalent for an LED would be a 3 to 5 watt light bulb.
For the same amount of light.
Same amount of light.
Wow.
Same color of light. That's another thing people always worry about with LED. That's that it's a blue light. It can really be any color in the spectrum you want in the Kelvin spectrum, from a real yellow light to a real blue light.
Well, now it can. The technology is amazing. When I'm a bit older than you guys, and I remember when they first started talking about LED lighting, it really was something that people were shying away from because it was it was kind of ugly and stuff, and now it's just come along. You say you can get pretty much any kind of color, huh?
Absolutely. And the other thing is the lifespan of them is 50,000 hours.
Wow.
I mean, it might be the last lamp bulb you buy for that lamp. I mean, that's what's incredible to me, is that you'll have it almost your whole life, depending on how much you read. Maybe you read 24 hours a day, you might go buy another one. But the lifespan is what's really the big recyclable and how long it lasts.
Yeah. So let's talk about you were talking about those numbers, those different types of light bulb numbers and stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different styles and numbers. And so a T8 is your typical 4-foot fluorescent tube that you see in every office building, almost in every business you walk into, and every
grocery store.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that's kind of the standard that people go to right now, and the average wattage out of one of those is about 32 watts would be the average. And so from our T8 LED tube light is 18 watts.
Wow.
So no ballast required for any of these. So there's savings right there. Again, 50,000 hours.
Compared to what for one of the old ones?
Average can be, let's say, 10,000 hours on a fluorescent bulb.
So 1/5, yeah.
And you have the cost of a ballast. You have the cost of disposal.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to throw those in the garbage. They're filled with mercury and other chemicals.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cost that involved in it. Very inexpensive up front, but expensive as you go.
So, I remember, I don't really look up as much as I used to in life because I'm looking kind of forward. But very much forward. But I remember going into a grocery store and seeing just all over the place the burnout lights,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a big thing now where people, have been for like many, many years, where people come in and just pretty much replace all the lights, whether they're good or not, because they kind of do it as a routine.
Yep.
And I imagine most of those lights probably end up in the garbage, or do they?
Well, actually, I mean, it's the law. They have to, you're supposed to go and take them to a special location that recycles them, or I should say disposes of them properly. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can't really recycle them. And it can be anywhere from 25 cents to over $1 per, say, tube light. So it gets kind of expensive, especially for, say, a grocery store that has maybe 1,000 or more lights.
So what about the fixtures and stuff like that? You said there was the ballast. That was the thing on the end, the little like tube thing. Is that what the ballast was?
The ballast kind of takes the power in, and then it gives the power, and it electrocutes basically the chemicals inside that tube.
Yeah.
And it continually sends a little electrical shock, and that's what makes the light glow. So we don't need those in LEDs. And so
What about the fixture itself? Can you use the same fixtures?
Absolutely. Just take the ballast out, rewire the power directly to the end, to the tombstones, slide the light right in.
Yeah. Cool.
So you don't need new fixtures. Just take out the ballast.
So aside from the obvious stuff, I mean, what is the environmental impact on the LED lighting?
And the environmental impact.
Let's talk about the production. What do you guys do? Are you guys involved in the production of LED lighting at all?
We don't have a manufacturing plant ourselves. We don't manufacture them, so because there's a lot of components that go into it. We have it manufactured for us.
Yeah.
And then we distribute other manufacturers' products. As far as the actual, I mean, it's made up of essentially metal and plastic. The diode itself is a little metal semiconductor. And there's a plastic cover on it, so there's no glass. And then there's aluminum on the backing. And then you have a small, I'm no electrician, but the driver inside, the little mechanical parts or whatever. But other than that, there's no harmful chemicals in it. Again, it's like nearly 100% recyclable.
You don't want to be tapping your foot down there because it'll come off on the microphone and it'll give him a lot of work to do to clean that up. Sorry.
I'll stop tapping if I can help it.
But anyhow, do you have any idea about the way that they used to make those things? Were those a lot worse? I know they got gases in there and everything. And
You mean the fluorescents?
Yeah, the old kind of.
So the
to get
the chemicals, you have to in minefields to get.
So
the
environmental impact is just
tremendously
different. Let's see. So aside from let's see. So we talked about the environmental impact, the longevity. Aside from that obvious type of stuff, why is this important that we switch over to LED lighting?
Well, in my opinion, and a lot of people's
This
opinion,
is all about your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is your show tonight.
Not everyone's. So, for one, it comes down to energy costs are constantly going up, and we're always worrying about how are we going to deal with the rising cost of energy, or the amount of energy we consume. What about the fuel?
It's not just the cost; it's the impact.
Absolutely. So that's
you've got kids and young kids.
Absolutely. So that's what we we look at is all the stuff that goes into it. I mean, from having to replace it, the energy that goes into having to make all those, to build the machines that dig into the ground that get out the chemicals, to drive the truck, to lift the lift, to change the light at the pole, at the top of the pole. Everything kind of compounds on top of itself.
So it's imperative that we make this change.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. So you personally, what are you most passionate about as it relates to this work? You've been doing this for a couple of years now? Or? Yeah. What are you most passionate about as it relates to this?
My family. To be honest, I'm most passionate about spending time with my boys growing up. They're 7 and 13, and being a good role model for them, and enjoying every minute I have with them. And my wife.
But this business gives you the opportunity to show them good examples and stuff.
Absolutely, and it gives me the opportunity to come home feeling good about what I do all day long. So, that just adds to a more positive feeling at home with my kids and wife. So,
what about the smallest type of lights that you deal with? Is that the bedside light that you were talking about?
No, actually, we have an MR16, and it's a small spotlight. It's probably one of the smallest lights we make.
What's that used for?
So track lighting, you can see it in galleries, art galleries. You can see it in grocery stores around the produce or the cheese section.
Yeah.
You can see it in furniture galleries and a lot of retail stores. It has a lot of different uses, but it's just a small spotlight.
And how many watts or how much power?
It's 3 watts.
3 watts. And then how much? So what's the lumina? Is that the lumina or what's that word?
Well, there's lumens.
Lumens.
Yeah.
Is that the actual brightness?
It's how bright that light is and how much light comes off of the bulb or the lamp. And then there's also something that people rate. They kind of figure out the foot candles. So how much light is at a certain area coming down from the fixture. So there's kind of 2 ways they look at that.
And how about the biggest light? Like what's the biggest light that the ones that you're talking about in the parking lots and stuff, or is there something bigger?
I'm sure there's bigger, but the biggest ones I deal with
big,
are about 100 to 110 watts.
And then what about the lumens?
The lumens on those are
astronomical.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to
So that's
say.
110 watts LED.
Mm-hmm.
And then what were they in the past when they were just like the regular lights, like the retin burning heat lamps that those things that were
about anywhere from 400 to 1,000 watts. Yeah.
So like potentially like 10 times less energy that it's like using up.
And lasting on those 100,000 hours.
100,000 hours. And then what about the old school ones? How much time do you think that they had on those?
25,000 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Just giving a guess. I mean, it kind of varies from bulb to bulb, lamp to lamp.
Yeah, probably So is there a LED, the National LED Association, or how about let's start regionally? Is there like a Washington State LED cooperative or something like that?
I don't know about a cooperative. There's definitely lots of different lighting organizations, and definitely a lot of different places you can go out onto the web and look at what people think about LEDs and different groups that are talking about LEDs. Lighting Design Laboratories is a laboratory that is in conjunction with all the utility companies in the Northwest, and they test a lot of these and rate a lot of them based on other third-party laboratory tests on the lights. So to get on what I talked about earlier about rebates through the energy companies, to be able to have your light qualified for rebates has to go through the Lighting Design Laboratory in the Northwest. So they kind of look at the lab results from an independent laboratory, put it on their list as long as everything has passed the testing, and that kind of qualifies you as, hey, my product has passed all these certifications, and then here's the next step forward.
Is there a lot of opportunities for rebates in the LED lighting field right now?
There's a lot of opportunities for it.
Yeah, great. Because I know we talked to the guy with the solar thing, and apparently it's kind of backed off a little bit. I think that stuff kind of wax and wanes a bit.
It's the same in LED, but it's a matter of finding the right application, the right situation for the lights. Not every application warrants a rebate from the energy company, so it just kind of depends.
So when I asked about the resource, the local or Washington State resource, I was just wondering, aside from the great work that your company's obviously doing, and we can talk about that a little bit. I know that the one thing that you had sent me was the big, was that a restaurant or something that was doing a whole LED conversion coming up?
Yes. Well, not a restaurant. It's a grocery store or restaurant.
Oh, grocery store. Yeah. I was wondering what kind of push the industry's doing in general, just to educate, the typical homeowner or the business owner in the field of LED. I mean, I'm I do this show and I have a business that's, I don't know, it's relatively innovative, but I don't hear a lot of stuff or a lot of talk about LED.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're doing great helping us out. I mean, the big thing is that lighting is controlled by 3 big companies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it. And I don't need to name them. I think everyone could
you don't need to
come
name
up with
them
them pretty quick. But
and you don't need to communicate that reality, because anybody we talk to is being, it's so just the fact that you're doing, by the way, is a total inspiration to me. And, thanks for taking the time to come down and talk about it. I'm really excited about it. How about, what do you know about the history of LED lighting? When did it kind of get started or introduced? And
I'm not an expert in the history, but what I've learned is that LED lighting has been around, or LED's been around for decades.
yeah.
And my very first introduction to it was selling fax machines and working with fax machines
The little lights
in the
inside
early
there.
90s. Instead of a laser,
Yeah.
some machines had light emitting diodes that would, send the information onto the drum and whatever else that brings out the image. So, it takes the place of a laser in a lot of machines, a lot of printers.
Yeah, Randy's are you a nerd or a geek? I forgot. He's a nerd. Randy's a nerd, but LED's probably been around since for long before any of us were around, wasn't it? In some capacity.
Probably around the 50s or so.
50s
Yeah.
or so, yeah. So that's before any of us. So what do you know about the arc or the rise or the popularity? Of LED. Is there any kind of statistics on how relevant or how prevalent it is in our society today?
I don't know of any statistic, but I tell you, I notice them everywhere.
Yeah.
Lots of streetlights. The city of Seattle is testing them out on their streetlights in different areas. You look up, and if you can recognize the difference between an old street light and one that has these little dots all over it,
Yeah.
they're really stepping up. And
we're probably not even noticing most of them.
Absolutely.
Someone like
'Cause-
yourself.
yeah, I look at all lights, so
It's like I walk into someone's house and look at their paint job, and the average person isn't going to do that.
absolutely,
And you probably look at lights all over the place, so they're a lot much more prevalent.
absolutely.
What about a national resource for LED information? We being an internet show, we broadcast all over this planet and perhaps beyond this galaxy even. And if somebody wants to find out information about LED locally, of course they talk to Clear Lighting Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
But what about somebody that's somewhere else out in the country? Is there a national LED information site?
Department of Energy has a lot of information and a
cool.
lot of resources and links that you can go to.
The
Straight
Department
from
of
Department
Energy.
of Energy. Yep.
Perfect. Well, let's see. I'm not sure if I had any other questions in this particular session right now. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up before we take a little break? And
I'm good.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Thanks.
listen, we're going to take a little break here, as I just mentioned, and we're here on episode 45 of GreenerViews, and we're here with Mike Noonan from Clear Lighting Solutions, and we'll be right back. Hey.
You are listening to GreenerViews.
Gravity connects me to the earth, which connects me to people who connect me to myself more honestly. And gravity connects me to the crust, which connects to the leaves on the trees that make it possible to breathe.
Came to rest on the minefield, blessed with naive mind shield, like a helmet. They would tell us that we don't know how we feel or how to connect with other people on the planet. Oh, if we only knew the power in each blue disillusion little. In the vision of one resides all, destroy the individual, for this is critical. The self ain't everything, hands to grasp, to cling, to mask material vastly shipwrecked beings. At last, release the greed amassed with capitalist tasks and contact. The mass communication is all we have and dwindling fast.
Welcome back to episode 45 of GreenerViews. Coming up on 50, man. It's amazing. So we're here with Mike Noonan from Clear Lighting Solutions. And we had an opportunity to chit-chat during our break and look up some things and talk about some things. So first of all, I'm not going to make you guys do this, but if I had a choice, I'd get everybody to sing happy birthday to LED lighting, because Randy looked it up and it was exactly 50 years old. It was discovered or created or whatever it was done in 1962. And if my math serves me right, that's 50 years, so happy birthday. We're not going to use candles on the cake, though. We're going to use LED lights.
It's better for the environment.
It's better for the environment. So let's talk about CFL. We didn't get into that. That was a big thing that's been popping up, and they've been getting people to transition. Tell us what's the difference between, or why we'd want to use one or the other between CFL and LED. What is CFL, by the way?
Compact fluorescent lamp. The difference is again, it's the same as any of the other fluorescent lights. There's still chemicals involved. There's still, a shorter lifespan. The LEDs are using, you can either an incandescent, which is supposed to go away one of these days, replace that with a CFL, versus, at 40 watts, 25 watts, whatever it might be, versus an LED that's 3 watts and no chemicals and a 50,000 hour lifespan. So again, when you want to go recycle that, you're not throwing it away. It's not ending up in the dump with a bunch of chemicals and landfills. So that's the biggest difference between the two. I think better light too. One of the things with LED is it's instant on. A lot of CFLs take some time to warm up before the light starts to shine. LED is instant on, instant off.
So the CFL is somewhat better than the old school version of it, but it's just not quite good enough. And LED is it's just all the difference.
Yeah, and I think, from what I looking at where CFLs fit in, it looks like that was going to be the replacement for incandescent lights, being a more efficient solution than that.
Yeah.
So I think the LEDs, in my opinion, just take it another step further.
Yeah. With
being much more efficient. It's
just not quite manageable for the average person yet. And what were you saying about how long do you think expect that we have to wait before the average person can be able to afford to have LED lighting as a part of their home?
I mean, I would think 2 to 5 years, somewhere in that time frame. I think it'll be affordable for most everybody.
Great.
It has to be.
It has to be.
I mean, it's the solution that needs to take place, and that's, to me, it's an obvious solution, and I think that it's being driven to go that way, and at some point, it's just going to have to.
Well, we're trying to keep positive and everything is something that we really make sure that we keep doing on this show. But the truth is there's a lot of dire reality to life that says we've got to make some changes, and the lighting and energy is a huge one. I mean, it's
absolutely
it's what would our life be like if the lights were all turned off? It would be I'm actually up for the experiment, but that's a whole nother thing. So let's talk about the recycling. How do you recycle? Let's say that we can, we decide to sit around for 55,000 hours or something and watch one of the LED lights go bad, and then we need to recycle it. Well, how do we do that as opposed to the other light bulbs?
So, for example, our tube lights, if you wanted to take it down to a metal yard, somebody that would recycle both the plastic and the metal out of it, it would be one option. Another option is that we recycle all of them. And we can actually, the plan is that we reuse everything except for the driver and the LEDs in there. We just take them out and we're going to replace them.
Wow.
But that's, 5-10 years down the road.
But
so
they're
when they
getting
come
there.
up, but they're getting there. Absolutely.
I mean, there was nothing about it really. So, out of curiosity, what percentage of that unit would be eventually completely recyclable or reusable? Like 95%?
Reusable for the same light would probably be, I would say probably about 75% could be reused in the same light.
Wow. And then what about the other 25% of the materials?
Metal, go to scrap,
so
could be recycled.
So ultimately, almost nearly 100% of it can be
is
used.
recyclable.
That's the way that we need to be going on everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, yeah. I guess that's about it for the lighting questions that I had right now. Did you guys have anything?
Oh, we talked about it a lot during the break.
We talked about it during the break.
Burned through that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we hit on pretty much everything.
I was thinking maybe if you could show us the bowl.
Yeah, you want to do a little show and tell? Yeah, grab that little one too. Perfect.
So this would be our. Oh, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
So this would be our LED solution to replace fluorescent T8 lamps. So this is our easy LED T8 lamp. This particular one has a frosted lens. You can also get it with a clear lens. But there's about 266 LEDs inside this tube. And then this little guy is our MR16, which has 3 little LEDs. This is a 3-watt MR16.
That's like the track
50,000
lighting that
hours.
you were talking
Yes.
about, and the for illuminating, like almost like a display light and stuff.
Correct.
Let me feel how. Wow. And just handling this thing.
Shatterproof.
I was just going to say, handling this thing. When you handle a regular fluorescent bulb, it's I mean,
Careful.
you're literally on pins and needles.
Yeah.
And it's not very heavy or anything at all.
No.
It's not heavy, but it's heavy from the esoteric sense. Perfect. Do you want to hold on to those, or do you want to move those out of the way?
Sure, I'll just set them out of the way.
Yeah. So speaking of heavy, not weight, but we're going to get into our. This is the point of the conversation where we get into the hippy dippy stuff. Until we come up with a better. Somebody called it the woo-hoo stuff. I don't know if anybody has any better terminology for that, but this is where we get away from the company and we talk about Mike Noonan a little bit. So what is the motto or the mission statement for your life?
Recently it's changed, so I would have to say now it's live in the now. And for me, that is to, enjoy every moment, especially, again, back to my kids, with my family. And every moment's precious. You don't know how many you have left.
That's a good motto this guy has. Great. What about who or what has had the greatest influence on your life so far? Perhaps there's many, but give us one or two.
Well, I can't give you one without giving you two, and that would be my mom and my dad. They adopted me and at an early age and gave me everything I have today, and I wouldn't be where I am today and have experienced everything that I have without my parents. So,
great.
Easy question, mom and dad.
And I love your answer. As a matter of fact, one of our future shows is definitely going to be on open adoption. And I have a good friend of mine that has been involved with an open adoption, I think, for about 5 years now. And I think that they're fantastic parents, and I'm really glad to hear that your experience with your family and everything has been so great. What about a recent movie or a book that's been inspirational to you? And if it's not recent, then any particular book or movie that's... Yeah.
I would say Spider-Man, just because I was amazed that I liked the
Which
Spider-Man.
one? There's been so many.
Well, the latest one. I went and saw it
okay.
with my son, and
yeah.
I thought it was pretty good for a Spider-Man movie. But no, the most inspirational, or the one that meant the most to me, was I just recently watched, what is it, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Oh, yeah, what a great movie. Yeah.
And we were talking about the raw food diet a little bit ago, and been juicing for a while. And
it really does make a difference, doesn't it?
I feel like it does, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So how do you maintain, aside from those green smoothies, how do you maintain such a positive and hopeful person?
I think through just living in the now and enjoying my family, enjoying the people around me and friends and loved ones. I mean, I think they give me the strength, my wife and my boys.
Great. So, yeah, even though there's a whole lot of issues with a lot of things in life, including like the wrong kind of lighting that we use in our lives and all the other things that we talk about on the show, life really is a pretty precious gift. So what is one thing that most any person can do to have a positive impact on the world? And I'm not going to allow you to say switch over to LED lighting.
That was my 1, 2, and 3 answer.
Okay, well, give us number 4, please.
Wow. I would say maybe not to not take themselves so seriously.
That's a good one. I like it. So what about the getting the word out about your company? You got give us your phone number, email. What else do people use these days? Website, Twitter, Facebook.
No Twitter.
Okay.
Not yet. Maybe.
Whatever it is that you have that you want to get the word out about, we put it on our site, and it generally gets embedded into the video somewhere.
Clearlightingsolutions.com is the website. Info@clearlightingsolutions.com is the email address. And a phone number is 206-396-6993.
Great. So so these shows you generally go up about a week or so out. Is there anything in the? We didn't talk about the restaurant and stuff. Let's talk about that for a couple minutes.
Yeah, La Tapatia in Kent on September 1st from 12 to 7 is kind of a grand open house.
Okay, well that will definitely not get out in time. but anyhow,
if you're ever out there and you want to see the lights,
yeah, let's talk about what that is. Anyhow, is that a big project for you guys or?
It's a big project. I mean, it's one of the first grocery stores that we've got our tube lamps in, our T8 tube lamps.
So you're pretty much doing the whole shebang, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, so we're really excited about them opening and everyone kind of checking them out.
Cool. Okay, so this is one more chance for you to be a kind and wise old sage, a young old wise sage. So do you have any helpful hints or wise advice or last final words to leave us with? You used up a lot of good ones. You got to have one more in there.
One more in there?
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to lighting, of course, I mean, what I would say is do your research. There's a lot of different products out there, and some of them tout that they do a lot of things, and some of them don't live up to those promises. So what I would say is, do your research and make a wise decision.
Yeah, I love it. That's very, very, very good advice. I'm doing, so we're starting another podcast here, the Healthy Paint Talk, and it's about healthy paint and construction. And I did some writing on it this afternoon, and one of the things I was touching on is the fairly recent craze. It's actually been around for a while, where people were throwing around these words like natural and organic and everything, and like how misleading and deceitful, like even that's a lot of that was. So yeah, it's really, really important to do your research, and there's a lot of great opportunities and ways to do that. So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've been here, episode 45 of GreenerViews with Mike Noonan from Clear Lighting Solutions, and we'd like to thank Christian and John Anderson. I got to act like I know these guys, but I kind of do, but not really, for filling in for Michael this week with the video. And I'd like to say that they did a great job, but they have. I haven't seen the product, but just their general demeanor and their energy around here has been really great. And Randy's back with the sound, and on behalf of all of us, we say thank you. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you know somebody that would be a good guest, or have a good topic, or if you'd like to advertise or be a sponsor or donate to our program, email us, info@greenerviews.net, or you could call 206-650-4587. Please check out ambrosiadigitalmedia.com and healthyhomecast.com. And I never could remember who the next guest is, so I'm not going to even bother trying to figure that out. Just check out the website, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. You have to wave. It's really cheesy, but I still like it.
Thank you for listening. GreenerViews is part of the Healthy Homecast Network. Check out all their conscientious and sustainably focused podcast programs and businesses at healthyhomecast.com. GreenerViews is created, developed, and produced by Daryl Whalen. Our audio engineer is Randy Parcel. Our video producer is Michael Schwartz of AmbrosiaDigitalMedia.com. Music for this episode was provided by SlapJazz.com, DanFagens.bandcamp.com, and JDHobson.com. Your feedback is important. Please feel free to contact us with any comments or questions, including suggestions for guests and program topics. You can call us at 206-650-4587 or send a direct email to info@greenerviews.net. Be sure to check back often. New episodes coming soon.